let's dive into how we can get you that first deal. So what have you tried thus far? What were your results like? And let's dive in there.
Well, it was bad for me. Okay, so I did the fortune builders. I was upset with that because I paid like a shitload of money. They was like, "Oh, go do the training." But the trainings was like 10-year-old videos, which didn't help me. Then I turned around. I was like, okay, I really want to do it. I got into Renatus, did Renatus, but Renatus basically was more marketing. They wanted, you know what I'm saying? They wanted you to bring people to buy their program, but they're not helping you with their program. Then life took a turn. So then I saw Flipman, and that's where I saw you. So I went to Flipman. So I was like, okay, and this time I said, let me follow him. So when I seen yours, I said, okay, I'm gonna use both of these together to intertwine commercial as well as residential. That way I have that strong foundation to build upon. So with that being said, in the past, I've bought lists. I paid money for that on a monthly basis. And it's like, I did it for what I thought would be the most simplest ones, which was vacancies. So I would build a list, then I would, call everybody on the list. And like you said, the daily cold calling, I would do daily cold calling from 6 to 8. And that was like not daily. So let me take a step back. So it was just Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Okay. So I would do it 3 days. The thing was half the houses wasn't vacant. So I started, once I got a list, I would drive around to verify. And I would say 80% of the list was garbage. Yep. And then, like I said, life.
I want to just let you know a few things, right? So, like, we pull a lead list from a software called Reonomy. There are a couple other softwares you can get, CREsync or PropStream, or a couple of those different types of softwares, but essentially it's all the same. 20 to 40% of every lead list is going to be remotely accurate. Everything else is not going to be accurate. Right, like everything above that, like you're going to be in a good place if you got 20 to 40% of data that's halfway decent. Now, don't get me wrong, the name of the game is data. Whoever has the best data is going to probably have the best year. Because if you got all correct contact information, you're probably going to have a much better year than somebody who's got a lot of bad information. So yeah, I mean, it is a pay-to-play type of arena where, like you've experienced, buying lists, cleaning lists, and then hitting the list is important. Again, my teams do, upwards of almost 100,000 cold calls a month at this point. And keep in mind that it was not always like that. It started with just me making my calls, similar to you, making the calls every day or every other day and just staying consistent. When you're making your calls, okay, great. Let's say you pull a lead list of 500 or 1,000 people, which means that then you should be getting maybe a tenth of that in leads, a hundredth of that in leads, right? So 500 to 1,000 numbers means you should be getting between 5 and 10 leads. Or I guess is that 1%. Yeah, it's a 1% ratio, right? At a very conservative number. So if you pull 500 leads, you should be getting 1%, which is 5. 1,000 leads, that should be 10 leads. Right, in total. And by the way, you might have to call that lead list 2 or 3 times in order to pull out that amount of leads. And if you're going to qualify a lead, it's someone who's possibly open to selling the property. Everything else that's not an FU, no, thanks, goodbye, the whole 9 yards. So everything else we're going to qualify as a lead. Someone who's just at least open, if not more motivated, but at least open to hearing an offer on their property and possibly selling. So if 1% of every 100 or 1 for every 100 leads that you export is possibly open to doing so. Again, it's just a numbers game. So
right.
How long were you making those calls for? Like 3 days a week? How long did you end up doing that for?
3 months. It was like August, September, October.
Okay. And then how many leads did you generate that were actually open to selling?
I probably had about 6 a month.
So 6 a month, that means it's 18 different opportunities in 3 months. And then what ended up happening that you didn't close the deal?
Follow up for a couple of them because it was like not right now, and he was going through something to give him a call back in a couple of months. And by that time, I had just given up on it. A couple of them were like just outrageous. Like they weren't really motivated. They was just kind of me, like one guy had redid his barn. It was a garage. He turned it into a 2-1 house, and then he wants the same thing, like a brand new 4-2 in the neighborhood because that's brand new and his house is brand new. So in my area, we have the up and coming. Yep. Like my house is just
and you're in Georgia, right?
I bought it 2019. So I live in a golf community which they're building, but outside of it you got the older generations who have like a 2-1 on 3 acres of land, and they feel as though their house should be worth 500,000 or 600,000 based on what's selling inside the communities.
This industry favors longevity because the process of our game here is we're pulling a lead list, right? I'm just going to walk through a process, right? You pull a lead list, you get the data. You then take that data and you put it into a dialer, okay? Some type of, making it more efficient for you to prospect. You prospect that lead list, right? You call it using a script. You are now going to find people who are open to selling. You're going to get leads. Okay. Now you get these leads, and then the goal here is to then obviously convert those leads, which converting looks like setting appointments, making offers, pitching these deals out, right? Converting them from a lead to now a contract, right? You're going to have to do a few things between that period, from lead to contract. There's a few things that happen, right? Again, appointments, negotiating, pitching the deal out, making offers on the property over and over again until you can actually get the deal locked up, right? And that process, just to even get to a contract, sometimes can take a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year. It could take a while. So just realize that it's really, this game favors the longevity, favors the consistency factor. You're constantly going to be pulling lists. You're constantly going to be hitting the list and calling the list. Constantly following up on the leads now that you've generated, right? You're going to be generating leads, and then you're going to be constantly following up with those leads until they're ready for you then to go meet them or to make an offer. You're going to continue this process over and over and over again, where you can eventually, through follow-up and through making offers and through appointments and through pitching deals and through that consistent process of negotiating, you're going to get a deal to a contract. And that's just to get to a contract point. Nonetheless, the contract period, which in itself can take 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And it has its own mess of challenges. This game, let's keep it simplistic, right? Where if you are consistent like you were for 3 months, and I do believe, Julian, that if you are consistent for a year or 2 or 3 of just doing some simple activities, and even if it wasn't 3 days a week, maybe it's 2 days a week. 2 days a week for 2 hours you spend prospecting. 1 day a week you spend that entire 2 hours pitching deals and following up with your other leads, if that's just better and more conducive to your availability. Because all of it is important. Each of those pieces is important. Like we talk about generating a lead every day and getting an offer every day is the ultimate goal, right? Because not only do you want to be getting new leads, but you also want to be getting offers on your existing.
Makes sense.
Like what can we implement right away that you can commit to so we can start getting your results?
So what I've done so far, I've used PropStream as my software. And what I did was I started with foreclosures and pre-foreclosures, I'm sorry. Now I'm doing that on the residential side, like the single families. So it's not as lucrative as I would hoped it would be. In other words, when I say lucrative, like in my county, I did pre-foreclosures. I had like 21, so I don't have that large market per se. I did a couple.
So where are you in Georgia? I just have Reonomy opened up. I just want to look at you.
I'm in Villa Rica, so it's Paulding County. So then I went outside. I went out a little bit. So I'm surrounded by Douglas and Cobb County.
So you see up here in these 2 counties, Paulding, Cobb, I didn't do any other filters. 48,788 properties. Now,
right.
You want to do multifamily as an example? Multifamily. Now, this is larger than 4 units, right? 5 and above.
Okay.
You have 684 properties, and if you go to owners with a phone number, you have 520 properties, multifamily, 5 units and above that you can prospect. And that's just those 2 counties. If you want to do other property types, like if you wanted to do retail or if you wanted to do industrial, right, warehouses, office buildings, you name it, right, self-storage facilities would be another a very lucrative one. You have a lot of different options, but just these 2 counties, you have 520 multifamilies. And then obviously you can see that Cobb has a lot more than Paulding, right? So the closer, I would even try to, I guess Douglas would be down here, right? I would slowly start moving closer and closer to Atlanta. Right, and even if you have to drive an hour, which, by the way, you don't even need to see every property. I mean, you probably would want to begin with your career. But like as an example, I live here in Miami, and I sell properties in New Jersey very commonly. So I don't see every property. This would be an easy list for you to pull right away. So you can prospect that lead list and basically use my script book to at least give them a call, say like, hey, I'm a local investor in the area. Just curious to see if you might consider selling your property. Very, very simple.
Okay. Oh, and the script book.
Again, it has the same filters, right? Multifamily, includes a phone number, these 2 counties. Now watch this.
Right.
All you do now, after you hit apply, you go to owners. And what happens here is that Reonomy will show you every property owner in that list, right? So obviously some of them are huge, Graystar, who owns $21 billion worth of properties. So I probably wouldn't call, you can call them, but I don't know how much you're going to try to do business-wise with them. But there's also like a bunch of people who, the top few here, which have a few $1 million in properties, they maybe would consider selling. These people haven't bought something in a number of years, so they might consider selling. This gives you all of their includes a phone number. So all these have contact information. You can see all these people here who own properties in your search. right, who might consider selling.
Okay.
It's like, okay, and the cool part also is like, okay, the other part is you can even see who's bought properties recently, right? So, okay, I mean, I don't know if you're going to call a $1 billion company, but hold on. Let me, let's do this. Give me 1 second. Owner, assessed value of like $200 million. It's a lot of money, but no, not 2 million. So now what we can do is we can say like, okay, here you go, Joshua Mudd. This person owns 5 properties in your search here, owns 8 properties total, and they own $70 million worth of real estate, and they just bought something in 2021. This person, this group here, 5 properties, all bought, recently, all in your search criteria for $11 million worth of value, and they bought one in 2021. This one bought something in 2022. You can literally see, I mean, you could sort it by acquisitions date. I don't know why I'm not doing that real fast. All these people just bought stuff. I would just reach out to these people. These people should become your best friends. You basically become, you can call it bird dog or, acquisitions manager, right? That's what I try to call it. But you get to call these, right? You get to work for these individuals, basically, trying to find them something good. I mean, it's that simple, right? And then you just reach out to these people, make them your best friends, find out exactly what their buy box is, and find it for them. And that's all I do. And obviously, the goal here would just be I want to make this really easy, right? Where it's like, yes, it can sound overwhelming, but also know that like if you can get into a really consistent schedule where a few hours a week you're prospecting, a few hours a week you're pitching those deals that you find, and you find a couple good relationships that you can build together, great investors that you can slowly start presenting deals to, and they can make offers with you. This game becomes very simple.